Welcome, FNUS57 here. Once again, I'm on my Xbox One, and in today's video, I want to show you how to unlock the Overkill achievement. It's currently still a rare achievement worth 30 gamer score on the brand new game, The Ascent, which is currently playable on Xbox and PC, plus it is included with your Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate subscription. In order to get this achievement, this is one of the ones that can easily be missed, but you can actually get it relatively early on in the game. And depending on when you try to do this, you may also be able to get the Extreme Overcharge achievement. However, if you're doing this in the early game, you'll only be able to get the Overkill achievement. I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this, and then of course I'll make a separate easy guide for Extreme Overcharge. For this, you simply need to kill another enemy by overcharging an enemy that's in stasis. A matter of fact, as soon as you get to the area that I'm in right now, which on the map, this is Cluster 13, as soon as you get into this area for basically the second mainline story quest, you will actually have the opportunity in order to meet the requirements for unlocking this achievement. There is also a side mission that you can pick up very early on called a Double Charge, and for this particular mission you must overcharge kill enemies. It's very easy to do, but it might be a little bit hard to figure out exactly how do you do that, because there really is no piece of gear early on that obviously states stasis. However, there's this little hidden blue building or blue neon sign building that says shop, and it's got the icon that looks kind of like an eyeball. If you go into this shop, this is the cyber vendor, and you can purchase different tacticals from this vendor. Now, most of them are more lethals, but one of the very first options that you'll have is the stasis drone. It does cost 22,000 U-creds, so you might not initially have the funds for it, but you could just, sell extra copies of armor or weapons that you don't use. There's plenty of ways to get the creds for it. And then once you have the credits, you can go ahead and buy the stasis drone. So that's exactly what we're going to do now, is buy the stasis drone. It's not exactly the most useful tactical, but it's going to come in handy for this achievement and mission. At which point, go to your loadout, select your tactical, and equip the stasis drone. Now, though, we have to actually charge the stasis drone. You'll charge your tactical by simply dealing damage. If charging your tactical by dealing damage is not an option for you, or you want to do it quicker and you have at least 4 upgrades to your cyber deck, it is actually possible to charge this by either spending funds or simply going around and hacking the various miscellaneous objects, which technically are vending machines. And the vending machines that you need to hack are ones that are little yellow ones. Anyways, they dispense tactical charge, but depending on how you want to do it, just go ahead and get your tactical charged up, and then you need to find a few enemies to deal with. So we're going to stay in the early section of the game, just because this is designed to be something that you can do early on. And I'm going to go ahead and charge up my tactical meter, and then show you a very easy way of unlocking at least one of those achievements that I mentioned earlier. Alright, so as I mentioned, once you get your tactical meter charged, you can really go anywhere you want in order to do this. You could take a couple of different approaches. So from the bottom side of Cluster 13 here, you could exit out into the gas station area where I'm at. Or if you want lower level enemies, you could go pretty much north and start to make your way up to the arcology, or you could exit out onto the rooftops. There's really any number of places that you could go. It's completely up to you. I'm going to go over here, and we might try to get the extreme overcharge, but we'll see how that goes. Basically, what we need is we need a group of enemies. Ideally, you want relatively weak enemies for the one achievement, and one specifically strong enemy for the other achievement. But melee units usually work the best because they'll cluster around on you. So what we're going to do is we're going to get these enemies and ideally get the melee enemies to kind of cluster up. Now, I should mention that the targeting is going to be a little wonky because the stim drone sometimes kind of has a mind of its own. And you'll go ahead and have it target an enemy and then fill up that blue bar until the enemy explodes. And hopefully when that enemy explodes, it actually does enough damage that it will kill the other enemies around it. Now, that's a little bit easier said than done, especially on these big, massive enemies, because as you've seen, they really wanted to move around a whole lot. They didn't want to actually cluster up that well. So if you get lucky, you can get it here, but it's actually easier to get this on even lower enemies in the deep stink with all of the ferals, or I believe it's called Black Lake Towers. Those are probably the two easiest areas in terms of having a whole bunch of relatively low level, relatively weak enemies that you can deal with. I will show you the method that works most consistently down in the deep stink, which is where we are headed in a moment. Or the Black Lake Towers if you have access to that. And if you have access to the Black Lake Towers, you can simply take a cab there, which makes it incredibly easy to do. So if the enemies are close enough like that, you should be able to get them to explode with the stim drone. But again, this achievement does take multiple tries. However, there we go. We just got that. Killed an enemy by overcharging them with the stim. Relatively easy to do. Just takes a little bit more practice, and you have to get a little bit lucky if you're fighting those higher level enemies. However, with that being said, though, like I said, we are going to go ahead and take a very quick trip via the taxis to the Black Lake Towers area if you have it unlocked, or you could go to the Deep Stink. Either place works because it has a ton of ferals. Alright, so here we are in one of the areas near the Black Lake Towers. If you go down into like the really abandoned section of the Black Lake Towers, you can easily find ferals. If you go up into this Knit Road section, then you can also find lower level melee enemies, or you could simply go back to the starting area of the Deep Stink. Whatever you want works for this particular achievement. But these melee enemies are easy, so go ahead and use your tactical ability. Hopefully it will target one, overcharge the blue bar, have it explode, and as long as it deals enough damage to go ahead and kill the other melee enemy next to it, which in the case of dealing with ferals, that's probably the easiest enemy to do this on, but other melee units will work for the achievement. As long as you've done that, your achievement should unlock within a few seconds after doing it. As you guys remember, I did get my achievement earlier. So in order to go ahead and show that we have the achievement unlocked, or just in case you don't get the notification, make sure you go to the official club for the game, go over to progress, and it will show you your most recently unlocked achievement. In this case, that is the Overkill achievement for killing an enemy by overcharging an enemy while it's in stasis. So, a little bit technically challenging sometimes, depending on the enemy type, but relatively easy to do compared to the other achievement for dealing 4,000 damage to an enemy that's in stasis, which also is relatively easy to do. You'll just have to wait till later on in the game when you have higher level weapons that deal more damage. Hopefully this achievement guide helped you out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to help you guys out. As always, if you enjoyed the achievement, smash the like button, and of course subscribe for more content. Until next time, stay frosty.